All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rechakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, Shalom, salutations to the hopeful elect that's fighting a good fight of faith and truth, in sincerity and wholeheartedly, Shalom to the Akwath, which is the women believer, Shalom to you. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. I thought it was a ceasefire. This is the quickest ceasefire attack in world history. 24 hours later, after the U.S. made a deal with Iran for a ceasefire, 24 hours later, about time this video be posted, it'll probably be like a day after that. Got so much going on right now, but the work still got to be done. But 24 hours later, guess what? Israel attacked Lebanon. And you know what I love about this? Because if the Lord says it's going to be a war, it's going to be a war. Okay? Ain't no ceasefire. Because the scripture says that there's going to be 3 world wars. And as we know, those who know the truth, the third war is the war to end all wars and to bring forth our kingdom. So we're closer than, as the scripture says in Romans 13:11, our salvation is nearing to what we believe. So you see how Esau Edom had his agenda. He had his. Hold on, I feel like I hear somebody coming. Let me see. I hear somebody. Is they coming? Maybe they heard me talking. They knew I was doing a video. But yeah. So at the end of the day, the Lord's will be done. So it says the world reacts to brutal Israeli attacks on Lebanon after U.S.-Iran truce. So don't really have to read it, but it's only 2 paragraphs. But basically, 203 people were killed, 1,000 people was wounded 24 hours later. All right. So that's just the Lord doing what he do. The scripture says that's his determination. Oops. It said that's not it. It's Zephaniah 3:8. That's a good scripture though. It said, "Therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, till the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination." When you determine to do something, that means that, let's go and look up the definition. The firm, unwavering resolve to achieve a goal, often overcoming obstacles, even though ain't no obstacles with the Lord, but willpower, through persistence and willpower. So unwavering resolve to achieve a goal. So no matter what, you going to do it. You determined to do it. So it is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. And what is the Lord's jealousy? Why is this war even happening? They touched the apple of the Lord's eye. It says, "For behold, in those days, in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," all right, 12 tribes, "I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat," which in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment, "and I will plead with them for my people." Okay? That's the jealousy of the Lord's anger. That's, you touch the apple of the Lord's eye. And as the scripture says in Ecclesiastes 3:15, it said the Lord required that which is past. So the Lord don't forget all the captivities we've been in and all the mistreating that we've been receiving from these nations. And then even in this, generation, and then also, the past 4 or 5 centuries, all these nations, they seen us at our low. They never came, to our aid. They ain't never say, these are the Israelites, we got to help them, because when you read Psalms 83, as the scripture says, they all came together with one consent to make sure that the name of Israel be no more remembrance. So they loved it, when we were called ourselves black and Latinos and Native Americans, and we don't practice our heritage. They love it because as long as the Israelites are down, the heathen can continue to rule. And they don't really care who's in rulership as a heathen, long as we're not, because they understand that they have to go in subjection. But, the days is approaching where they're going to love it that the Israelites are going to be, in control. Because the scripture says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. We are a righteous people. We will be, put it that way, and in the kingdom of heaven. And, the nations will get a fair shake. The only ones who's not going to get a fair shake is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white people. Okay? They have a judgment coming. They are the worst of the heathen, as it say in Ezekiel 7:24. They was created to be the wicked and to bring wickedness into the earth. And the wickedness is about to be expelled out of the earth, but not before they serve their captivity. And that's when the kingdom of heaven will be set up. So saying, I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. This is why we're scattered into all nations, all through the captivities. So, like I said, the Lord said it's going to be a war. It's going to be a war. If it's in the scriptures, it shall come to pass. But I will remove far off from the northern army. So this is the same, verbiage as in Jeremiah 49:20. It talks about the least of the flock should draw them out. So the least of the flock bombed Lebanon, which is Ishmael, in that land right now. So they bombed the dragons of Arabia in the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra 15:28-31. It literally said that the dragons of Arabia and the Carmanians, which is Elam, the Persians, the East Indians, India, Iran, all of them, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all of them, okay, they're going to join together and fight against the least of the flock, which is the small hats in America. All right. The least of the flock is the so-called JEWS. All right. And they are the ones that's leading America into the war. So this is what this scripture is talking about. But I will remove far from you off the northern army, America, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate. His face towards the east sea, which is the Red Sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, all right, which is the Persian Gulf. And when you look at a map, that's the Saudi Arabian desert. That's why I said to a land barren and desolate. And his stink shall come up, which means he's going to lose. That's death. His ill savor shall come up because he have done great things, speaking blasphemy against the Lord, touching the apple of his eye. Remember, Jacob's trouble is going to be happening at the same time this is going to be happening. And, he got to pay for that. He got to pay for that. And I always say this, always use this as an example. So Esau, Edom is doing everything that he's supposed to do. But he was created to do the wickedness. He was created to be an example of what not to do. The being an example of when you go against Yahweh Bashem Awashai, this is the consequences. Okay? So Jacob's trouble is the Lord's anger. But he's using Esau, Edom to do it, but he's going to be punished for it. Imagine that. And you say that the Lord and our people, put it that way, always want to save Esau. That's hate right there. Somebody is obedient to what you tell them to do, what you make them do, and you still going to judge them for it. That's hate. Okay? Because he was created to be a wicked. Ecclesiastes 7:13 says, consider the work of the Most High. All right? For who can make that straight, which he have made crooked? So these people are crooked. These people are wicked. Okay? And it's nothing that anybody can do about it. Nothing that anybody can do about it. That's how they was made. And they doing the will of the Lord. The reason that life is the way that it is because they are in rulership. So the Lord's going to make an example out of them. So Like I said, if the Lord says it's going to be 3 world wars, it says, oh, now I want to mess up. Come on now. The second woe is past. Behold, the third woe coming quickly. Okay? So it's going to happen. So going back to the article real quick, I'm going to end it on that just to read it. So world reacts to brutal Israeli attacks on Lebanon after U.S. iron truce. So Israeli forces have carried out a devastating bombardment across Lebanon, killing hundreds of people hours after a 2-week ceasefire was announced in the United States-Israeli war of Iran. This is what's going to cause, Ishmael and Elam, as you would know as Arabs and East Indians, or, people from India and Iran, come together. They doing too much, but it's the will of the Lord. Oh yeah, also I should have got that scripture, but Exodus 15:3, it said that Yahweh is a man of war, Yahweh is his name. So it said Lebanon Ministry of Health said at least 203 were killed, thousands wounded in an airstrike that targeted areas in Beirut, the Bekaa Valley, Mount Lebanon, Sidon, and several villages in southern Lebanon on Wednesday. Earlier, the country's civil defense put death toll at over 250. Now, I'm doing this video, on a Saturday, because I'm saying it's so much going on, but at the end of the day, man, the will of the Lord will be done. Matter of fact, I got to end it on this. The Lord is mustering the host of the battle. It said the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Yahweh Bashem Avashai, Yahweh Bashem Avashai, Yahweh Bashem Avashai of hosts, muster the host of the battle. Okay? So when you muster something, that means that you bring together, you collect. Okay? So he's collecting the nations. He's bringing them together for World War III. Ain't no ceasefire. Dang. Another scripture popped in my mind. Talk about the peace treaty, right? 22. It's 50. Matter of fact. I'm gonna end it on this. It said, there is no peace, saith my power, to the wicked. So there is no peace until the kingdom of heaven come. All praises to Yahweh Bashem Shai. Seek ye out the Lord while he may be found. And Shalom.